What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We are back with our next rugby preview. This is going to be round 2 of the Autumn Nations Cup. It's going to be England versus Ireland. For this game, I'm going to chuck on my created England team because England team aren't actually licensed in Rugby 20. So I'm going to have to play as a created England team versus Ireland. There's a lot to talk about in this game, so let's kick it off and look at these teams. Alright, George Ford is going to get us kicked underway. So, first team we're going to look at today is going to be the Ireland team. Ireland had a very solid game against Wales. It was a bit of both worlds of having Ireland actually played very well and Wales didn't play very well at all. I was quite disappointed watching that game. Wales did have a lot of issues, which I'll probably cover more in the Wales-Georgia preview video that I will do, where we'll just go over some of the issues Wales had. Just some very, very poor defence that allowed Ireland to take full advantage of so many holes in the defence, allowing them to get numerous scores in. But Ireland are looking very, very strong. I think they're still coming back off of that annoying loss they had against France for them in the final game of the Six Nations. So let's check on the team and let's have a look. It's a pretty standard Ireland front three. Healy, Kelleher, Porter, all of which doing very, very well. They've done some brilliant work in the scrummaging. They've really begun to dominate now. Second row, Gwyn Rhys, who did have a very, very good game on his debut, did manage to actually get a try, was very good for him. A very good player, actually. Was very, very impressed. He did some really good work in terms of the rucks and the pick and drive. He's a big, big lad to stop. I was very, very impressed. Ryan, of course, is going to take over this one as captain, and the reason for that being that Johnny Sexton is out of this match against England, which will be a disappointing shame for him. He did go off injured in the Wales game, and I don't think he's going to be making it back anytime soon. It looked like a bit of a hamstring injury. I haven't actually read it fully on what happened to him. So Ryan will be taking over as captaincy. CJ Stander coming in along with Peter O'Mahony and Keelan Doris to create that back three there. Very, very strong. There's a lot of experience now between two of them, especially. Keelan Doris is very, very good, actually. I've been very, very impressed by him across the Six Nations and the Autumn Nations Cup. I've been very, very impressed by him. CJ Stander coming in replaces Van der Fleer, which is going to be interesting to see that he's no longer in this team. He's got dropped completely, even from the 23. He isn't actually injured, they've just removed him from the team. Don't know what's happened there, I thought he was playing well. But CJ Stander is always a welcome name to have in at the shirt there. Let's take a look at number 9. Big decision was made here. England versus Ireland. This is going to arguably be the game of their conference. Who's going to come top? And they've decided to actually put Conor Murray on the bench for this one. Gibson Park is obviously impressed in his game he had against Wales. They've obviously going to give him a shout. And probably not a bad idea to bring Murray on later in the game just to rebalance a bit of leadership if they're beginning to lose track a little bit. Ross Byrne, of course, is going to come in. A very good fly half. He just really doesn't get a lot of time, unfortunately for him, mainly because Sexton has been so good recently, especially with kicking percentages. He's been very, very good. So it'll be nice for him to get his first start. I believe it's his first start in something ridiculous like 2 years or something. I couldn't remember what I read earlier. I think it was 2018 was his last actual official start. But it'll be nice to see him come back on. Sexton, of course, is out with that injury, so I don't think we'll be seeing him anytime soon. Bundy Aki coming back in at number 12. Robbie Henshaw is out injured. Terrible shame for Ireland. They've had a lot of injuries leading up to this big game against England. Bundy Aki is a bit of a staple, though, for the Irish centres. Never particularly exciting for me, in my opinion, as a player. He's a very crash ball player and he just sort of charges through. But he does the job he needs to at 12 on that crash ball, the first receiver from the ruck. Very, very good. Farrell had a good game last week, actually. Very, very impressed. He's doing well with that number 13 shirt. Ringrose still out injured, so he's not going to be doing anything for a little while, so Farrell gets to remain in that 13 shirt. It's a strong centre partnership, actually, between the two of them. I think that's going to be quite impressive. And then James Lowe, what a game that man had. He spent about 60 minutes just doing everything completely right and trying to avoid a fight with Liam Williams, as all I saw Liam Williams do in the last game was pretty much try and have a fight with James Lowe. Took it on his chin, you know, it's your first cap at international. People are going to try and get under your skin. They were trying to ruffle him up a little bit. just to let him know, welcome to the world of international rugby. Took it in his stride, did very well and managed to get that final try right at the end of the game. Very, very impressed by him. Would have been the standout winger for me had Duan van der Merwe not done so well for Scotland, but very, very impressed with him. And Keith Earls returns to that right wing. They've dropped Andrew Conway completely now. He again is not in that subs bench at all. He's joining Van der Fleer, unfortunately. Keith Earls again, very strong winger. Ireland have had him for a number of years. They'll know exactly what he's capable of. Doing very well, which means that Keenan has back in that 15 shirt. Stockdale is back in the team now. After his sort of injury scare that he's had, he is back in the team, but he's going to be starting on the bench. Keenan getting to play that fullback position. Very, very impressed with him on the wing. I think it's a bit of a battle for those two to play left wing between Lowe and Keenan, and Lowe did very, very impressively. I think it's a good decision to put Keenan back in that 15 shirt, and then when Stockdale comes on, you could always take Keith Earls off, move Keenan to the wing, put Stockdale at fullback, or you put Stockdale on either wing. They've got a good ratio there of players to be able to interchange in that back line, which is very, very strong. It's a strong 15 for Ireland. Looking at the replacements, Herring, Byrne, Beelum, Henderson. I mean, there's 4 big names you want in that Irish forward pack. They've got a lot of experience coming into this game. They haven't taken this one a bit half-heartedly. They know England are going to come for this. They know England want to try and win this Conference A. They've brought some big, big names in there. Connors, who actually was really impressed with me last week. I thought he had a really good game. Murray, of course, we've already mentioned, is going to be starting on that bench. He'll probably come on, I imagine, just after half-time, maybe about the 50-minute marker. I imagine he'll come on just to regain. Obviously, not having Conor Murray or Johnny Sexton, he's starting 15, does reduce the sort of leadership roles they have in that back line. Peter O'Mahony will certainly be able to take over in the forwards, with Ryan being able to enforce that a little bit. But in that back line, it's going to be a bit of a mishmash, so I'm hoping they're able to hold that up a little bit. Burns will, of course, come on if need be. He actually didn't have a terrible game last week. He did manage to take over the mantle pretty well last week as Sexton went off and was able to show a bit of his own skill set off. He was very solid with kicking, actually. He was very, very impressed. And Stockdale is back in after his little injury scare. We have mentioned him in the video a bit. But he will be, of course, coming in to re-bolster some of that back line. He did not have a particularly good game against France in the end of that Six Nations. I'm sure he will want to improve. I'm looking forward to seeing this Ireland team go up a bit against a very strong England team. Speaking of who, let's talk about this England team. So England played Georgia last week and they had a brilliant game. I got their game plan completely wrong. I thought they'd probably play a bit of a forward game for the first 20 minutes, half hour, and they would try and match a bit of Georgia, and then just before the first half ended and then moving into the second half, they would play fully in the backs, kicking over the top, little chip kicks through, passing it out to the wingers, getting the fullbacks to do big counter-attacks, and England just did none of it. They completely swapped up what I thought they were going to do, and they just went for a full forwards game, played Georgia at their own game, which was amazing just to watch the Georgian defence slowly tire, and then they just took full advantage. Let's pop up on screen. It's basically a very similar team to who played. Makavunapola and Cal Sinclair starting this week, but Jamie George, what a game he had against Georgia, getting 3 tries. He's the first England hooker ever to have a hat-trick, apparently, which I thought was really, really impressive. They did really well, the English forwards, last week against Georgia. I was very, very impressed. Maro Toje is going to move back to his number 4 position, with Joe Launchbury keeping number 5. Maro Toje had another good game. A lot of turnovers come from him. The back row of the scrum is where it's changing up a little bit. Tom Curry's coming back from off the bench. Obviously, Ireland are a much stronger team than Georgia. They want a proper starting 15, not necessarily what they played. I was very, very impressed with Willis last week, and it's a shame he won't be able to get another game, but Tom Curry's going to take that number 6 position. Sam Underhill comes back in at number 7, who was a strong, strong player, and Billy Vunipola will finish off with that number 8. So forwards-wise, England are bringing the big guns to this game. You can tell Eddie Jones doesn't want to let this slip. They're not messing about. This is the team, basically, that was in the World Cup final. They know they want to play this game hard. They know Ireland aren't going to be able to put out their strongest team. England are going big. They want this win and just to sort of stamp a bit of dominance and probably win the Conference A group this week, really. I don't really see Wales in their current form being able to play an England team like this, and I think this team's got the capabilities to beat Ireland, especially these forwards. Looking at the backs, Ben Young's going to be at number 9. He's a standard number 9. Owen Farrell does still have number 10, even though George Ford is now back in the team. Owen Farrell's keeping that 10 shirt. He's as good as he's ever been just in terms of game management, the clever kicks through. Johnny May we didn't get to see a lot of last week on that left wing. Eddie Jones has talked a little bit about these hybrid player designs, and I think he tried to push Johnny May to actually play a bit like Farrell did in the centre. I'm not sure what the decision was. Johnny May did an awful lot of trying to kick the ball to other players and trying to find space, even though it's not really his forte, as opposed to getting Henry Slade to, who was really very good and can even play fly half. I don't know why Henry Slade wasn't given that role over Johnny May, but for some reason tried Johnny May. Henry Slade was as good as he's ever been as well, doing very well. Ollie Lawrence showing off a little bit last week. He was doing very, very well. Very quick player. And is going to look very, very dangerous, especially if he finds those little gaps. He will run his way through. Jonathan Joseph is coming back in, which I wasn't expecting to see. He went off injured in that Georgia game very early on after giving a try assist over. But I didn't expect him to get back in on this side. And to be honest, I haven't been impressed with Jonathan Joseph for a little while. He doesn't seem to be doing a great amount. He seems to be trying to help other people. He does have an awful lot of injuries, but currently they aren't allowing Anthony Watson back, and I don't know if he's injured. But they haven't got Anthony Watson back in. And then to finish off this back line, Elliot Daly, who had a great game, got himself a try last week. It's nice to see him back. He's making good meters. He's very good on that counter-attack and brilliant just defensive kicking. When he's back in that 22, he does have a cannon of a leg to fire it back down. As a starting 15, England are going big for this one. Let's have a look at the finishers. Tom Dunn, Ellis Genge, Will Stewart. Again, another big class setup for a front three to come in and replace there somewhere during the game. Johnny Hill and Ben Earl are looking very strong as well. They have got some good subs here, actually. England are showing they've got some real depth going on. And it's getting very, very impressive currently, leading up to the World Cup coming up in a couple of years. I think England are going to have a very strong team to take to that. Dan Robson's going to have that 21 shirt. He actually had a bit of an impact in the last game. He's trying to make the most of it, I think, while they don't have Willie Hines available. And he's not doing a terrible job, to be fair. He did come on, did make a bit of an impact. The big talking point, of course, will be George Ford coming back. And sadly, he won't be able to get back in it. His number 10 straight away, Owen Farrell, is doing impressively. At his number 10, I think Eddie Jones is wanting to have two proper centres play. Ollie Lawrence is doing a very good job, and Henry Slade is also very good. And I think he wants to try and keep Owen Farrell in that number 10 shirt if possible. A bit of an interesting choice here is that they also have Max Malins on their bench. They basically have two fly halves, or people that generally play at fly half. So I assume at some point one of them will come on and take that number 10 shirt, and then Owen Farrell will probably move. I would imagine out of the two of them, maybe Henry Slade would come off and Owen Farrell would go back to his 12 position because he knows how to play the inside centre, with maybe George Ford going to 10. I'm not really sure where Max Malins will go. He's a very, very quick player, actually. He is rapid. I would like to see him a bit more time on the ball, which sadly he doesn't seem to get a lot of. But overall, a very, very strong 23 from England. I think this is going to be a great game between England and Ireland. They've gone for two very different styles. England have gone for experience and power. Ireland are trying out new players in new positions. I think it's going to be an England win. I think my prediction for this game is going to be England to win by about 15. I think is going to be the way it goes. I think with the teams that are going to be coming in, I just think England are going in with the stronger team. I know Ireland have got some big players and they are coming off of a good win against Wales. I just don't know if they're going to have the strength to do this, especially seeing as what England managed to do against Georgia, literally beating them at their own game. I'm not 100% sure whether they'll do the same tactic against Ireland and just try and pressure those forwards. But now they know they have the ability to slowly wear down a defensive team in the forwards, especially a team as good as Georgia. I think they'll want to do the same thing against Ireland. Ireland have been known for many years for their forward pack and being very good. But my prediction is going to be England to win by 15. I cannot wait for this Autumn Nations Cup to carry on. This will be the first game coming up on the weekend and it's going to be a great game. If you've enjoyed this video, guys, make sure to drop it a like and make sure to subscribe to the channel just to keep up to date with all of these prediction videos. I am keeping them going as the Autumn Nations Cup is going on. I hope you've all enjoyed today, guys. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.